Hi everybody, welcome back to Frank Drago Reserve for the second game of our night series doubleheader tonight. It's the NPL WA final. Next up is familiar foes Perth and Floreat face off in this competition for the second time in 3 seasons. My name's Tommy Dolman. It's a pleasure to be here tonight, joined by Sean Fry once again. We hope you're all staying safe and well and enjoying the broadcast here tonight on the Football West YouTube channel and on the Facebook page across your devices. If you can't be here, of course, there is a 500 supporter capacity here at the venue this evening. Earlier today, in the first of our 2 matches, it was Murdoch University in Melville who won by 3-1, thanks in part to a double by Christos Venus. As our captains, Jason Saldaris, good to see him back, and Jordan DeLeo toss the coin. Along with refereeing team tonight out in the middle, with being led by Stephen Gregory, my apologies. And he'll be assisted by Julian Serra and Lawson Rimmer. Joshua Nixon will be your 4th official. As for tonight's fixture, it's a familiar final as mentioned before, but there's been a little bit of change, particularly in the Perth camp, who are under a new coaching staff following the departure of Ramon Falzone after 6 successful years. Mark Wingle is at the helm with brother Dale, who joins from Coburn after many years as assistant to Scott Miller down in the southern suburbs. But the squad has also seen a pretty hefty turnover, with only a handful of players remaining from last year's double-winning team. As for Floreat, they're a consistent bunch who just thrive in these cup competitions. In fact, they've won a piece of silver in each season, bar one since 2015, and represented the West well by taking Adelaide United to extra time in the FFA Cup round of 32. The league will be the grander target tonight for both of these teams, and they'll hope to go one better. This is Floreat anyway, with a couple of neat additions in their team following last season, when they gave up a large mid-season lead to fall short of tonight's opponents. So just about set to go here. These two have been pretty accustomed to facing off in finals, with this being the 4th in 2 years in totality. Whilst it may be only early in the season, don't underestimate just how much these two clubs love to win trophies. And with 2 outrageous meetings in the past 2 top 4 cup finals, it really is hard to know what to expect tonight. All the better for the excitement though, as the 2022 NPL WA curtain raiser is underway between City of Vincent rivals Floreat and Perth. Perth get us underway in their changed all-white jersey, kicking from the right to the left of your broadcast. Floreat wearing their predominantly blue shirt with the blue shorts and socks with the white stripes. And as Perth recycle a little bit of possession across the back 4, it's a big welcome back to Sean Fry.
Thank you, Tommy.
These two teams often don't play dull games. I hope I've not put the mockers on it, but what are you looking forward to seeing tonight?
No, very small chance of this being a dull one. I think they're 2 sides with a lot to play for, always with the caveat that it is pre-season, but Floreat v Perth always has that bit of a special edge to it, and I'm especially looking forward to seeing how Robbie Petkov and Sean McManus do as a little big man, small man duo up front, as Robbie right on cue wins the ball and goes forward for Floreat.
Petkov wins the ball. He feeds it out wide to Ambrosio. Floreat looking to carve out an early chance. It's a teasing ball into the area and getting in the way and clearing that away, I think, is Julian Tellez back there. One of several off-season recruits from Coburn for Perth. Obviously with the Coburn connection of Dale Wingle joining brother Mark. Yeah, just on your point before, Sean, Petkov, an off-season recruit from Inglewood as well. One of the league's better target men. Here's McManus, who had an outstanding 2021 campaign. The cross will run all the way to another new addition in Riley Woodcock.
Yeah, a lot of changes in the Perth makeup, as you have alluded to. The outgoing of a long-serving and successful coach, of course, and a lot of young blood coming through the ranks now, looking to youth, while Floreat, a lot of the same old heads out there. Obviously, you mentioned a couple of additions, but it is going to be a season of youth versus experience. And can this finally be the year that Floreat get it done? They've been so close the last couple of seasons.
Tellez brings that one down. Here's Luke Collins, playing in the left-back role. Played a little bit higher up the pitch for Rockingham this season, but I'm told he's been quite impressive in that position, provides a lot of energy, as we saw last term, and getting his opportunity to stay in the NPL after Rockingham's relegation last term. Just on your point about Perth earlier, with the turnover as well, Sean, only a handful of players have carried over from that double winning side, that highly successful era under Ramon Falzone. Jordan DeLeo's in the starting lineup tonight. Will Gordon's on the bench. Alex Siller and Federico Achille are both out of the team. And that is essentially it. Paul Zimmerino making his return to the Azzurri after a couple of seasons with Guelph. That's him on the ball. He feeds it wide for McCalla, who tries to dance inside. And then clearing that one away was Jesse Fuller. Collins forward into the feet of Hazani Sinclair. Looks to link up with Fanuel DeWitt. Zimmerino, he was pressured by Mom. Mom and Zimmerino then jump for the ball. Fuller thought about leaving it for Saldaris, and in the end thought better safe than sorry, and hacks that away out for a throw.
Well, you mentioned before how good it is to see Jason Saldaris, one of the best goalkeepers in Western Australia, back in net after that horrible knee injury last season. Just when things couldn't get worse, or you thought they couldn't get worse for Floreat, he went down for the year, and it just rubbed salt into the many wounds that were starting to open up there. Good to see him back, and hopefully a big year for him and a big year for Floreat.
Yeah, Floreat getting off to that 12-game unbeaten start in season 2021. And then a space of injuries, suspensions, players leaving for trials in Europe really cost them as McManus drives into the area, and reacting sharply was Radonic, who had to palm over. First real test for the new Perth number one in tonight's action. It was a save he should have made, and a save he did make.
Yeah, pretty straightforward. Palm it over the bar. What can Floreat produce from there? First corner of the night.
Just to go back to my previous point, Dean Evans with that injury against Perth Glory, it really set off a catalyst. Manasseh Obendawa, Jared Razai going overseas. As Floreat played the corner short, Woodcock links up with Ambrosio. Ball into the area. It was charged down by the skipper, Jordan DeLeo. Perth look to get something moving on the counter-attack. Caller's ball over the top. It gives something for Shubham McCalla to chase, who drives into the area, skips inside, strikes left-footed. It was a good block from Dennis Scallon, who had to make himself as big as possible to enforce the block. It looked as though it was going to be on target. A little taste of what Perth are trying to do on the burst, though, as they keep possession. McCalla tries to weave his way out of a tight corner again. Ethan Banks lost the handle, and Floreat are able to tidy up.
Yeah, just a little warning for Floreat about what Perth, the threat that they pose on the counter-attack through the likes of McCalla. Sinclair also with a bit of pace.
McManus has been lively in these opening stages. Ambrosio, scorer of 2 goals in back-to-back top 4 cup finals for Athena. One of those games, a 4-0 win back in 2020. The other, that chaotic 6-3 loss last season.
Gee, wasn't that something? We were both at that one, Tommy, and that was, what was it, 4-0 after 20 minutes?
Yes, I've learnt over the years not to rule anything out when these two teams meet, Sean. In fact, I can tell you that both of these teams have met 19 times in the NPL era in total. 18 if you only include the league games, but there's been 67 goals from those 18 matches, so averaging 3.7 a game. Both of these teams like to be on the front foot. They like to entertain. They are arguably the 2 perennial contenders of the past 2 seasons. Let's see how 2022 materialises, as Sinclair loses his footing and Gallen takes his time. Clearance was only as far as Josh Calla. Fuller pokes wide, and now Ethan Mom will look inboard. Pass was a little wide of Ambrosio, but it was good enough for Palmer. Floreat have had 4 wins and just the 1 defeat in pre-season. The only defeat being a 7-3 loss in the opening round of the night series to promoted Stirling Macedonia. Since then, there's been 4 straight wins in the group stage, although their passage to tonight's final was made a little bit easier by an Inglewood forfeit due to COVID cases in the Inglewood United camp. Perth, meanwhile, 4 wins, a draw and a loss. A 4-1 loss to the group winners in Group B, Inglewood United, and a goalless draw with Armidale on what was a hot and sticky night at Dorrien Gardens. And then a 3-1 win over Stirling Macedonia in the semi-final with 2 goals for Daniel Zivkovic and 1 for Ethan Bant. Zivkovic, surprisingly perhaps, on the bench this evening. Here's Palmer, nice looking ball over the top for Mom. 2 defeats 1 as the white shirts converge on Mom, but the Floreat youngster Sticks was tasked pretty well and wins his team a throw. Meanwhile, looks as though George Fest is going to get a talking to. Back at the Azzurri for a second spell, having played in the past 2 seasons at Floreat Athena. Really made that central defensive position his own under Vas Vujicic. Ball over the top here, looking for Sinclair, who brings that one down nicely. Sinclair lashes at goal, and he gets under it. And Saldaris is able to safely watch it over.
Wow, what a pass that was. Landed on a dime at his feet. The big Perth striker just couldn't keep the shot down.
Here's Gallen, who's been a big part of the Floreat successes over the past 5 or 6 years. 3-time cup winner with the club in 16, 19 and 21. McManus. Stepping in was Tellers, and out for a throw it goes.
Chris Saldaris with the throw, a huge threat for Floreat last year on set pieces, and scored that wonderful goal against Adelaide in the FFA Cup.
Saldaris' cross was charged down. Petkov puts it dangerously across the 6-yard box. Offside flag does go up. A little belatedly. May have been for the initial exchange. Perth will get things moving quickly though. Fester's ball forward into the channel, looking for Sinclair. It's another accurate ball to the feet of Perth's new target man, who replaces popular Brazilian striker Gustavo Cataccioni with the number 9 jersey this season. Here's DeLeo playing on the right side of defence tonight. Cross into the area, charge down, behind for a corner. Corner comes in from Makala. Half cleared by Palmer. Strike at goal was a difficult one for Tellez to try and arch his back and get over. And in the end it went behind the goal and into a crowd of cars.
Yeah, threat at both ends of the pitch, Julian Tellez. He was a player that Coburn would often use when they were in need of an equaliser or a late goal. They'd throw him forward.
Perth press was good there, but Floreat were really good. Likewise in playing out, and they've worked it up to the left wing with McManus trying to dance a jig down this left-hand side. He's got Woodcock overlapping the cross into the area. Petkov's header. Robert Petkov scored the opening goal in last season's night series final for Inglewood, and he's done it again for the blue and white of Athena. They take the lead early on here at Frank Drago Reserve. It's 1-0 to Floreat.
Well, if you want the perfect textbook example of what to do as a number 9 when the ball's out wide, that was it. From the almost penalty spot, the ball came into him and he just made absolutely no mistake with the header, powering it into the back of the net. 1-0 Floreat. Floreat being goal scored by number 9, Robert Petkov.
So a familiar face back in the goals for Athena. Back at the club after top scoring for the club. Previously with 10 goals back in 2019. He played the last 2 seasons at Inglewood. And he's back and already adding a presence to Floreat's forward line. And you touched on it before in the early stages of the game, Sean, but that little 1-2 punch, that relationship with McManus and Petkov already looks to be something that's flourishing, and a little glimpse into what we might see Riley Woodcock have this season as he bursts forward from fullback, a player with real quality and a lovely cross into the area, which Petkov just had to get his head to.
Yeah, absolutely. Another inclusion that I think Floreat have done really well in securing. Of course, I think the person that'll be most upset by that is Ben Steele, who is probably down the pecking order now in the fullback positions. But you can see why there is Woodcock getting forward, a wonderful ball into the area, and he just made it his own, didn't he? It didn't look like anyone else was winning that header the moment it left his fullback's foot.
What have Perth got in response? Makala's ball, it's aimed in at Tellez, who got his head to it, and he wasn't quite able to screw it on target. That's been a couple of times now we've seen Tellez get forward from the set piece and pose a threat. Tellez, one of several Coburn players who have joined the club this season, as we have touched on before. Luke Radonich, Tellez himself, Ali Galami, who's on the bench tonight, Sam Cook, a youngster who's was highly thought of in Coburn's academy. Saw some first team minutes late in the campaign. Fanuel DeWitt also joining.
Yeah, Ali Galami was Coburn Player of the Year last season. Huge inclusion.
Azani Sinclair also had a spell at Coburn back in 2019. Not sure that counts though. Collins, Makala tries to split 2 would-be Floreat defenders. Such an experienced outfit of Asviasic's team. Super consistent, not a lot changes. A lot of the familiar faces, and you can just see with that team chemistry. They're always on the same wavelength, it seems. A couple of fresh additions in Petkov, in Woodcock. Makala, meanwhile, nutmegs, gets into the area, strikes at goal, possibly had options to pull back to, instead took the shot on himself, and Saldaris was able to watch into the side netting.
Yeah, he didn't possibly have options, Tommy. He definitely had 2 or 3 options that were better than trying to fire at goal there from a 2-degree angle, but he's opted to take the shot on there when he certainly should have passed for me.
Mum can't keep that one in play. Former youngster with Bayswater, ECU and the Glory. Played mainly 18s and 20s for Athena. Got a lot more senior opportunities in 2021 as the injuries arrived at the club. Here at Perth, trying to make a raid down Floreat's wing again. This time the bodies surround Zimmerino, and Saldaris will get us restarted.
Worth a mention for Stephen Gregory as well, the man who's been given the big night series final to kick off the season. Had a wonderful year last year with the whistle.
Here's McManus again, who's been brilliant so far. He gets to the byline, and it was Fester who stuck with him. Both those players know each other very well, of course. Good attacking, good defending. Over goes Ambrosio to take the corner. It's short for Woodcock. It's cleared away by Makala. Gallon helps it back. It took an awkward bounce off the pitch, which Saldaris did pretty well. And where Palmer lost the handle on the clearance, the little ball through from DeWitt. Did find Ethan Banks, but he was in an offside position. And as it turned out, the ball didn't find the back of the net anyway.
Easy one for the linesman on the far side there. Could have called that one from here.
Ethan Banks, a player that we've seen a little bit of as well, Sean, after his appearance in the Cup final for Sorrento a couple of seasons ago at under 20 level. He's a player that's going to add a lot of energy and a lot of attacking thrust to Perth's team as well, isn't he, in this young team?
Yeah, very exciting young player and always one I've enjoyed watching.
Woodcock cross into the area again. This time it evades Petkov. Collins will get there first and he'll just slam that one as far as possible. Fuller's able to watch that one safely back to the goalkeeper, and then Saldaris releases Gallon.
I mentioned the McManus-Petkov combination earlier. It's looking more like the Woodcock-Petkov combination is the danger. The new Floreat left back getting down the left regularly in this opening stanza and putting a lot of dangerous balls into the box. Here is McManus, though.
McManus pulls the ball inside for Saldaris, who's got forward the ball across, and it looked as though it was slightly behind Arnold in the area, and then the cross back in from Woodcock. Must have only missed. I think it was, in fact, it was Saldaris who was still forward by an absolute whisker.
Oh, I think you said it, the ball slightly behind Phil Arnold, but also he just didn't get that right. Just fluffed his lines when the ball rolled across him. You'd expect some sort of contact there. Just got his feet in a bit of a tangle.
So touch after 20 minutes played here at Frank Drago Reserve. Robert Petkov's goal has given Floreat Athena a lead by a goal to nil. Murdoch University Melville 3, Olympic Kingsway 1 in the State League Night Series final, if you missed it a little earlier. Tommy Dolman and Sean Fry with you on the Call Football West YouTube channel and on the Facebook page as well. On what's turned into a beautiful night here in Bayswater. Around about 10 minutes from Perth's CBD. In fact, this venue hosted the night series final here back in 2019. And Floreat won it on that night as well when they triumphed on penalties over Bayswater after a 1-1 draw at full time. Here they come again looking to double their advantage. Ambrosio's ball. McManus was making a run across the 6-yard box, trying to make contact, and in the end the last touch was off a Perth player, I think. And it'll be Chris Saldaris who comes forward to take a throw in.
A big spell here for Perth that can't really afford to go 2 goals down at this point against the bigger experienced bodies of Floreat.
Saldaris to Arnold. Back for Saldaris. Cross into the near post. Straight up in the air. Where's this going to land? Petkov just spun away from him a little bit. Still here for Floreat, possibly. The shot on goal. I think it was McManus who let fly, and it looked like a nice strike, but it was always sailing high and over the bar of Luke Radonich.
They're looking dangerous, Athena.
Jordan DeLeo's throw. Banks was out-muscled on the ball. Mom passed forward. Couldn't pick out a teammate. And then I think George Fester saw a white shirt in the crowd and decided to pass it to them. Had a very good game in that FFA Cup round of 32 game against Adelaide United of the A-League. My apologies. Game where Athena took the Reds all the way deep into extra time before losing 3-1 eventually. Mom, that's good pressure from the youngster.
Space on the
And
right.
he'll look to try and launch Floreat into the counter-attack. Sean's identified the space on the right. It didn't go there, though. And Arnold just spreads his arms.
Arms in the air, wanting the ball.
Still here for Athena, though. Palmer wins the 50-50, finds Woodcock. Ambrosio's little turn around the corner, picked off by Calla. And now Sinclair. That was a nice idea for Banks, who continued his run. Radonich's clearance up into the night sky. Gowan decides to let it bounce.
It wasn't a good ball in the end from Petkov, but just showed the ability he has with his feet. He's a big man, he's a strong man, but he's so good at ground level
Turnover
as well.
from Arnold. McCullough's strike at goal. It was a spicy one for Saldaris, who fumbled initially and then gathered at the second attempt. Saldaris loves to get forward. Scored 10 times last season from defence.
Yeah, very regular link up with Dean Evans' free kicks and corner kicks.
Yeah, big threat from set pieces. Saldaris' ball didn't beat Tellez. Clearance was a little rash from the former Coburn defender. And then the strike on goal from Arnold makes it 2. Floreat have a 2-goal cushion here in the first half. They've been the better side so far, and they've really underlined that advantage with a sweet strike from Phil Arnold from the edge of the area. Floreat 2, Perth 0.
Phil Arnold.
Yeah, well, it was a terrible, terrible clearance, wasn't it? Out from the back, passed the ball straight to him. And a la Karim Benzema in the Champions League midweek, he made full advantage of the gift.
Lovely crisp finish from Arnold, who picks out the bottom corner. One of the many Athena veterans. Player once of Sterling. And no stranger to a goal in a cup final, as he scored the winner in the 2019 final at in this 2019 State Cup final, my apologies, at Dorrien Gardens against Bayswater.
He feels like he's been around chipping in goals for forever, doesn't it?
Floreat just looking like the more cohesive unit at the moment. That 2-0 lead, well-deserved so far, do you think, Sean?
Oh, I think so, yeah. Perth have looked dangerous on the counter-attack, but by and large, Florida controlled the game. The big man just doing so well like he did on that occasion there, keeping possession, running the channels, getting balls into the box.
Lovely centre-forward play from Petkov. Ambrosio tries to dig out the cross. Last touch was off. Fester, who'd come across. Floreat will maintain possession at the right end of the pitch as far as they're concerned.
Jesse Fuller, the only man up near halfway. Everyone else in or around the Perth penalty area.
It's thrown into Arnold. Saldaris' cross. Petkov tried to get his head to it. It's Ethan Mom who just lost his footing ever so slightly, and that allowed Perth to come in and clear the danger.
Yeah, I don't like the setup there from Perth on the corner with absolutely no one up near halfway. Just no one to keep Floreat honest. You can just throw balls into the box, and when it does break like that, there was no outlet ball, nothing on for them.
Collins' ball over the top to nobody in particular. As we've mentioned a couple of times already, it's an Missouri team which are very fresh, very young, and they're still trying to get that early season chemistry together. Getting to a final, though, is no mean feat. You've got to have done something right to get to this stage. But on tonight's action so far, it's Floreat who have really taken the game. Perhaps looking for a little bit of revenge after that 6-3 defeat in last season's Top 4 Cup final. Here's Kalla. Putting that one back to Fester. Floreat have lost their last 3 meetings with the Missouri. One in the semi-final, one in that Top 4 Cup final, of course, and also in the round 14 match at Dorrien Gardens, which was behind closed doors. Perth win the header, it's flicked on. Kalla's ball out wide. Collins should be able to keep that one in play. DeWitt and McCullough can't link up. Palmer bursting through midfield. Kalla was always on the right side, though, defensively. Sinclair, that's a good win in the air against Chris Saldaris. McCullough tries to get the better of Gallen, but once again, that experience stands him up, although...
Spent it before he had it, Tommy.
I'll put the mockers on Dennis there because he just lost control of that temporarily and gifted the ball back to Perth.
A wonderful read initially, good defending. Floreat just look very comfortable when they can sit deep. The bigger bodies, the more experienced players. Perth looked very dangerous on the counter-attack early, but we'll see what they can do when there's a bunch of blue and white shirts in the box.
DeLeo forward for Banks, who crosses in. Collins with a really rash cross shot, and in the end it just landed at the feet of Woodcock. Banks will try and apply a little bit of pressure, but Athena are able to work it out.
Yeah, not saying that I want this to happen, Tommy, but there is a real chance that the couple of early Floreat goals can ruin this a little as a spectacle. If they decide that a 2-goal lead against this side, very, very dangerous on the counter-attack. They might not want to throw too many bodies forward. Play a little bit more conservatively and try and get the job done. A really good test for them.
Well, in terms of the pre-season anyway, Floreat defensively have been pretty good.
Brilliant, haven't they?
They've conceded 10 times, but 7 of those were in the opening game against Floreat. So since then, it's only been 3 goals in 4 games. And Perth are going to need 3 here if they're to come back and win it. Ambrosio sliding in, skipping over the challenge was Calla. And then he skips over a second challenge from Mom, and eventually Stephen Gregory did see that there was a little nibble and awarded the Azuri player the free kick.
Yeah, and good refereeing again. Wants the play to carry on, wants the game to flow, and showing why he's one of WA's best refs.
Tellez wide for Luke Collins. Arriving was Banks, and arriving on the edge of the 18 area was Calla, who couldn't quite get over the ball. It was a tough challenge to take on the bounce. A tough chance to take on the bounce. Turnout as always from the WA football community. Only 500 spectators allowed into the venue, of course, due to the WA government regulations, but as always on these big nights, the football family turnout. Tellez goes to ground and Petkov steals in and then lays into McManus, who gets the strike on goal. It was a good block from Radonic, who stood his ground. Tellez is still on the deck behind play. Stephen Gregory allowing the play to flow. Didn't spot a foul in there.
Yeah, it was certainly a tangle of legs, and if I had the whistle, I probably would have blown it. Looked like he just got beaten to the front position there, and the legs being tangled up. Usually you see that decision, the free kick, go the way of the player in front. On that occasion, Stephen Gregory deciding it was enough of a 50-50. Both players at fault.
Woodcock, meanwhile, goes to ground on the far side under a challenge from Zimmerino. Much to the frustration of the Perth fans. Free kick taken quickly. Ambrosio's ball in. It's aimed in towards a few blue and white jerseys at the back post, but it's headed away pretty comfortably. Fuller. Ball over the top will give McManus something to chase. Fester goes to ground. He then had to swing a boot, and in the end it was a crucial boot because it prevented McManus from driving into the area.
Yeah, they're just winning those physical battles at the moment, Floreat, as you'd expect. The size difference with a few of the players, and you can say perhaps the Petkov incident earlier should have been a free kick, but he was the one that stayed on his feet, won the ball. McManus doing likewise there.
Floreat looking to enforce their strong showing in this first half. It's Ambrosio's ball in. It's Fester's header away. It's Calla's second header away. It's Ethan Mum going back to Dennis Gallen, who will reload. Long towards Petkov, and on the edge of the area, all on his own. In fact, it was Petkov who was at the fall of the ball. Chris Saldaris has gone forward from full-back as the initial target.
Yeah, they will be dangerous from set pieces, even without Dean Evans and those dead ball deliveries that he was so accomplished at. You can already see tonight it is still going to be a strength of theirs.
Yeah, it looks as though Nick Ambrosio's in charge of those this season on the evidence that we've seen so far. Certainly no slouch when it comes It's putting a delivery of quality into a penalty area.
No, but big shoes to fill, aren't they? For Dean Evans, if you're talking about set pieces. Probably no one better I've seen over the last few seasons in the NPL over a dead ball.
Yeah, Evans, who sadly went to ground last season with a knee injury and was ruled out for the remainder of the season. Obviously hope that his recovery has gone well and to plan. I'm sure his father Don will be still around the traps at the NPL WA grounds this season. Arnold, Saldaris forward, sliding in was Tellez. Another Floreat corner.
Yeah, ratcheting up the pressure.
A third now would really strengthen that grasp. This time it's going to be Riley Woodcock who'll swing one in. And it goes, aimed in towards the 6-yard line. I think that was Tellez who won the initial header. Overhead kick was nearly spectacular from Ambrosio. And Radonic had to react smartly to his right to palm away.
Well, it's all hands on deck at the moment for Perth. The Floreat make it 3. You would suggest that as early as it is, still in the first half, this would just about be all she wrote. Quite the reverse of the last cup final these two sides were in.
Ambrosio's ball in this time. It's going to be headed back.
Try again.
And behind for a secondary corner. Or a third corner, I suppose, in this passage of play.
They are racking them up. Perth now with one man up on the halfway line. But it'll take a pretty big effort from Ethan Banks to be able to do anything there. He's got 2 Floreat defenders on him.
Ambrosio's ball in. Jumping for the ball was Arnold. Calla will try and get there first, will he? Yes. And Palmer was really strong into the challenge on the youngster, and eventually Perth get a little bit of respite via a throw, of which they will launch high and as far as possible, and George Fester will try and pull his defence up. Flag up here for offside against Phil Arnold, I think as that long ball came forward.
Yeah, coming back from an offside position. Obviously picked it up ahead of the defenders. He's picked it up there and given it to McManus.
McManus pokes through, cleared away by Fester. So just under 5 minutes to go before the break. Floreat 2, Perth Soccer Club 0. Goals from Robert Petkov and from Phil Arnold. Thus far, Athena have had a number of chances to extend that lead. Most recently, Nick Ambrosio's overhead kick, which forced Luke Radonic into a smart save. What have you liked about this Floreat performance in particular, Sean? What stood out to you the most?
I think they've just worked really well as a unit. Obviously, I've mentioned Robert Petkov a few times, and I really think, and again, you know, tonight's not the first time I've seen him, but everything he's shown me tonight shows that he could be that final missing ingredient to give Floreat that final push. They just have had so much disappointment over the last few years, and fallen short. The COVID season that got interrupted and split in two, and then last year's massive lead that was eroded by Perth. They just need that little extra je ne sais quoi. Maybe Robbie Petkov is it.
Makala trying to make something happen. Links up with Zimmerino. Perth would love to pinch one back before the break, but Floreat stands tall once again, and they've launched onto the counter-attack, and numbers are forward, but Mum has set McManus an almighty task, and Fester's fast enough to go with him.
And the man who'll take this throw in as well, Riley Woodcock, has been very good as well, of course. A couple of really good additions.
Yeah, I suppose in hindsight you don't need much. Second place finish, having done a lot right in the first half of the campaign, and a state cup and reaching a top 4 final.
No,
Woodcock's ball in, Sean. Ambrosio will try and reach it. It's evaded him though.
Despite how it all went in the end, you do have to think it's less than 12 months ago, less than a year ago, this side was destroying all before them. There's a reason they had that huge lead. Obviously a good football side that just hasn't quite been able to put it all together when it's mattered in the past. Maybe 2022 is the year.
That's definitely the case in the league. In the cups, though, they've been pretty good for the most part, and they hold a very comfortable-looking 2-0 lead for the moment. Have a think about what you think Perth need to do to get back into this game after half-time, Sean, as we close down on first-half action. Just let this passage of play unfold first as Calla plays forward. Tellez plays that into DeLeo, and Floreat win the throw.
Yeah, it's very hard, Tommy. Very, very hard to see how Perth get back into this. As we mentioned, looked at them early. They had a few diagonals in behind and dangerous runners, but as the game gets later and later and the legs get more and more tired, Floreat will be more happy to sit back and just soak up the pressure and not leave that space in behind for those counter-attacks. And yeah, it just makes it nigh on impossible if Floreat do their job right from here.
One additional minute to finish the first 45. Daniel Zivkovic, of course, on the bench, who scored a brace against Sterling last week. Ali Galami as well, also on the bench. He might be a player who can come on and get a bit of a foot on the ball in the centre of the park.
Yeah, they haven't really offered much going forward at all, Perth. A couple of darting runs from Makala aside. They've been largely unthreatening. And that's not going to help.
Pass from Collins slips under the feet of Calla. Floreat perhaps with one final chance to jag a third before the break. They might run out of time though, and they do, as the end of the first half comes to a close. Floreat Athena holding a pretty safe-looking 2-0 lead at the interval. It's been a super performance from Vas Vujasic's team, who'd won 4 games in a row in the night series, coming into last weekend's postponement against Inglewood. But that rest looks as though it's done them good, because they hold a good break, a good 2-goal cushion, which has been given to them by goals from Robert Petkov, a header from close range, and Phil Arnold, a whistling drive from the edge of the area that gave Luke Radonich no chance. Work for Perth to do in this second half. Floreat looking pretty good, as they have done for the past few seasons. Half-time here at Frank Drago Reserve. Floreat Athena 2, Perth Soccer Club 0.
will be welcoming back to the field of play in the second half, Perth Soccer Club and Floreat Athena.
Welcome back to Frank Drago Reserve for the second half of this NPL WA Night Series final between Floreat Athena and Perth Soccer Club. Athena with a 2-goal lead going into the second period thanks to goals from Robert Petkov and from Phil Arnold in a half where they were in pretty much control for the most part. Perth with a couple of chances on the counter-attack, but it was a predominantly Floreat themed first half. Still plenty of time left though in this one as the second half gets underway. No changes from either team to start the second period. Sean Fry, what sort of response are you hoping to see from Perth?
Well, I don't think they were terrible first half. I think their build-up play and their play out from the back, you know, it was certainly serviceable. But the mistakes that they made, and that's almost another one there.
It's a dangerous switch of the play.
The goal they gifted to Arnold really killed them, and there's not much you can do to defend the first goal from Petkov. That's Robert Petkov. That's what he is. That's what he does. And no matter who you are, it's hard to defend that. So hard to blame them for that one. Second, obviously, huge mistake, and that gives them a big uphill battle in the second half, especially when Floreat can sit back. And there's one.
Yeah, that
in the unmentionables, Tommy.
Yeah, that hurts. And
I need to have a break after seeing it. Oh.
Poor old Phil Arnold still down. Feeling the ill effects from that unfortunate
Would you call it a head
contact
injury, Tommy? No comment?
I'll leave that one alone.
Well, the referee has stopped the play for the injury to Phil Arnold.
Injury is a very fair word to use.
I shouldn't be laughing. I'm sorry, Phil.
Perth were just getting something going, though, before this stoppage. Nice ball out wide from Zimmerino to Banks, who came in board and tried to link up with McCarla. Perth probably wanting to do a little bit more of that in this second half, you'd think. Just try and use the width of the pitch, try and spray a few passes around, keep possession for longer periods, particularly in the middle third of the grounds. They're going to have a free kick as Phil Arnold is back to his feet, and he'll take a few seconds off the pitch as Floreat will defend this set piece with 10. Collins has lofted ball and it's aimed towards Tellez. He may have even won the header there.
McManus is on.
McManus, you're right, Sean, made the run in between the two defenders, but Tellez was able to come across, and in fact it was Collins come across and make sure the danger was diffused. McCarla, Zimmerino, little ball over the top. Banks has managed to stay on side here. Cross was charged down there by Chris Saldaris. Banks, though, still driving, cross into the area, headed away by Fuller. And that'll be a throw-in over on the far side of the pitch.
Yeah, good battle from both players there. Soldaris initially with the block and forcing his opponent down the touchline. The cross did come in, but well cleared. Floreat just holding out. That's what they need to do. They need to be strong defensively.
Throw is aimed in towards Sinclair. Ball was allowed to bounce by Floreat's defence. And in the end, Saldaris with a big shout came out to claim.
Lovely distribution from Jason there.
Petkov is chasing this ball forward here from Palmer. He'll get to it first as well. Cross into the area, arriving at the near post was Arnold. It nearly breaks for Riley Woodcock, who snuck forward from full back, and he was under pressure when he took the shot on, and he wasn't able to get it on target.
Yeah, almost the inverse of the opening goal. Robert Petkov out wide, getting a ball in, and Riley Woodcock finding himself on the end of it. But Petkov again showing what he can do. He's not just a big target man, as I said in the first half. I think it's very underrated how good he is with his feet. Showing there that he can do it central and wide.
Sinclair with a nice win in the air to find McCarla. He couldn't get on the end of the return pass though. Ambrosio into the feet of McManus, who looks just as sharp in 2022 as he did in 2021. Oh, Scottish fly, the head on from Petkov. Ambrosio was making the run from midfield. I think it was Ambrosio, yes it was, and he wasn't quite able to cushion that lob into the back of the net. Instead it went over the bar of Luke Radnich.
Another lovely contribution from Petkov there. The flick on was absolutely on a plate there. Oh, just hitting the hand of the Perth player. Arguments with fourth official Josh Nixon. You can see what he's saying there on the touchline. Perth obviously arguing there's not much he could have done about it, but the fact that his arms were up over his head in an unnatural position, as they say, is enough to draw the whistle.
Mom exchanges passes with Palmer. Ambrosio couldn't keep the ball under control. Woodcock will not quite be able to get to that one. And he'll allow Perth to have a throw. Yeah, Woodcock, a really nice addition. Player who's represented Australia at under 17, 20 and 23 level. And played for the Glory and Sydney FC as well in the A-League. McCarla. Collins forward from full back. He's got Banks on his outside. The cross is in. McCarla's all on his own at the back post. And then he took a little bit too long on the ball, and that allowed, I think it was Jesse Fuller to get in, get his body in the way, and Luke Radnich gathers comfortably.
No, just took far too long there. I think Woodcock probably should have been doing something to get a bit of body on the man there. I'm not sure where he was. You want your left back there when those balls come into the back post. McCarla absolutely acres of space. So much time, too much time in the end.
Ambrosio giving chase, the ball forward. Radonjic had to come flying off his line. I think he might have caught a little bit of Ambrosio on his way through, but it was definitely a fair 50-50 contest between goalkeeper and midfielder.
Yeah, Ambrosio giving him a pat on the back as he went past as well, acknowledging what you've just said. Good goalkeeping there, putting your body on the line, making sure this lead or this deficit stays at 2. Floreat just had a couple of shaky moments at the back there that perhaps give Perth a little bit of hope. Big diagonals on here.
Switch the plays, a really good one here. If Mum can bring it under control, he does. He's got Woodcock arriving in support. Riley Woodcock's ball into the area. Teller's got a big chest on it. And in the end, he was able to slice it behind for a corner. Daniel Zivkovic beneath us is warming up. Sure, we'll see him introduced soon. Whilst Perth are still chasing this 2-goal deficit. Meanwhile, Ambrosio's corner is very deep. Saldaris was always up against it, running away from goal, and even a player as good as him wasn't able to keep that alive over on the far side. So a little bit more impetus from Perth at the start of this second half. They've managed to get into Floreat's penalty area on a couple of occasions. Glaring chance for Makala. Jason Saldaris still remains really without a major save to make in the game so far. As Floreat come down the other end on the counter, it's Arnold's ball inside, looking for McManus, who's got such good feet and gets out of the tight situation with ease. Palmer for Woodcock, crossing the area. It's an absolute peach. And the header from Ambrosio arriving late was over the bar, and a player of his quality will feel he probably could have got that on target, Sean.
Absolutely, but Riley Woodcock showing again how dangerous he is when he gets the ball out wide.
Outstanding delivery on a couple of occasions tonight, already with an assist in the game.
Lucky to get away without a foul on that one, I would have thought, though.
Could have quite easily had a second.
Sinclair and Woodcock continuing their arguments about that challenge.
Palmer. Fuller. Gallen. Ambrosio's got plenty of time to turn in midfield. I'm not sure where Perth's midfield is. They get back now as Palmer slings the ball wide. It was almost into the breadbasket of McManus, and that was a difficult one to control, and in the end Collins is able to spin away. Mum slides in, DeLeo emerges. Perth trying to play out of a tight pocket. DeLeo, DeWitt, Makala. A little bit better here from Perth. They've got a switch over on the far side. It's Collins who's got a little bit of space to run into here. A couple of options ahead of him. One of them's to his left. It's Banks. DeWitt. And Banks again. A little bit better from Perth here. What sort of end product have they got, though? DeWitt continues his run from midfield and shielding that one out with expertise. There's Gallen who hits the deck. Florida are able to take a few more seconds off the clock. But a little bit better from Perth there with the build-up, Sean.
Yeah, it feels a little bit like Floreat sort of smell blood, a chance to kill this game off. They've had a few thrusts forward. A third goal would certainly just about end it, you'd suggest. But as they attack, as they throw numbers forward, if they choose to do so, obviously that will play into Perth's hands to some extent. Their main avenue back into the game is going to be one of those quick breaks. If there's not a moment of brilliance or a mistake, of course, which can happen in any game of football.
Floreat fans very happy as things stand.
Oof.
It's a cool piece of defending from Tellez, who wheels away and then sprays a lovely pass out wide for Banks. It was not the most likely so far in this second half for Perth, if truth be told. Possibly a little deeper than he wants to be, and hence he slings that one wide for Collins, who puts into the area. Sinclair gives him something to attack. And Saldaris can come and claim before there's any debate as to whether it's a goal kick or a corner.
I don't think that's going to be Perth's avenue back into this match. Long balls into the box, crosses from wide areas. They're going to have to play their way through, I think.
Banks. Brilliant pass wide for Makala. He's got the runner forward here in Kalla, who got into the area, and it was a good piece of diligent defending on his way back from Arnold, but Perth are just starting to have a nice little spell here.
Yeah, better, much better. Banks is looking really threatening, isn't he, in the middle of the park? Might want to try and get a body or two on him if they can, Floreat. Cut these attacks off at the source.
He's been the standout so far, Banks, for Perth. McCullough's corner in. Header was flicked away. I think it was Petkov who was all the way back there helping his defence out. Still here for Perth, though, as DeWitt puts it into a area.
Danger.
And now it's real danger because the counter-attack's on here for Floreat. But the last man back there was Collins, who's had a pretty handy debut.
Yeah, it was a terrible pass. Really bad pass. It could have gone almost anywhere. Player on the left, player on the right. And found the defender. Sorry, Tommy, you go.
No, Mum and McManus had a 2-on-1, but Perth are coming the other way. In comes the cross again. Sinclair arrives at the front post and again can't quite get the contact on the header. As you said before, Sean, the crosses into the area haven't quite worked, and when Perth have looked good in their decent spells tonight, it's been when Banks has cut in and tried to make something happen around about that 30-yard area from goal. Calla, DeWitt, now DeLeo. DeWitt stands on the ball and he's promptly closed down by two Floreat defenders. And another sloppy turnover of possession here as Petkov has it to feet. Lovely centre forward play from Robert Petkov, who fires in his second goal of the game. A super strike from Athena's main marksman. And he's back with a bang this season. Floreat 3, Perth 0.
Scored by number 9, his second of the night, Robert Petkov.
Well, there he is again, Tommy. The footwork that I've talked about all night. He did it in the air in the first half. He's done it on the deck now. Is he that final piece of the puzzle for Floreat? They take them to that much-awaited title. Obviously, we haven't even started the season yet, so very early to make those sort of calls. But on all showings tonight, he is going to be a very valuable addition to this side.
Change coming up for Perth here. It's Daniel Zivkovic who's going to enter the fray in place of Paul Zimmerino. Zivkovic with 2 goals in that semi-final against Stirling. And now Athena are well and truly in a commanding position, and there's ever so much work now for Perth to do. They may have well won the top 4 cup final last season by a 3-goal margin, but they're facing a 3-goal deficit now on night series final night.
Yeah, you can put a fork in this one in terms of a contest, Tommy, because it is done. Just a matter of how many now, you'd think.
McManus, Mum. Floreat looking for more, perhaps. Ambrosio trying to carve out a yard in the area. It wasn't the most cleanest of contact, but in the end it still yields a corner. Floreat looking to keep the foot on the pedal here. In comes a set piece from Woodcock. That's very deep. It may have even gone out for a throw-in over on that far side. In fact, it did sneak out for a goal kick ultimately. Meanwhile, Athena will make their first change of the evening. It's going to be Philip Minich. In fact, it's Ludovic Boy. My apologies. He'll come on, the number 12. He's the number 14 on my team sheet. but it's going to be Boy who takes a position in place of Ethan Mom.
Number 5, Ethan Mom.
Ball from Boy spread wide, Saldaris forward. The cross took a deflection on its way over. And it'll be yet another Athena set piece. Woodcock's corner, it's a dangerous looking ball in. I think the last contact in there was off the head of Ambrosio, it was. Ball was always possibly travelling a little over his head. And as a result, he was unable to get it on target.
Oh, it's a worrying sign when the smallest man in an Athena shirt is winning a header on the edge of the 6-yard box from a corner. That could be an on-running problem for Perth this year, but it's a very young side. There's a lot of talent there. They will have their good days as well. This hasn't been one of them, but there's certainly a lot of talent there and wouldn't be writing them off by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, it's a very new team led by Mark Wingle, stepping up as assistant. In fact, brothers Mark and Dale both played for the Azzurri in the early 1990s. So a homecoming of sorts for both siblings this NPL WA season. They won't go into it in the best shape, I suppose, if the result stays the same, but granted, they have had 4 wins in this night series campaign to date. They can feel as if they've achieved enough with what they've put out on the park so far, no doubt. Sinclair may have been fouled, didn't matter because Makala just drives past 2 or 3 challengers. It's Shiva Makala who strikes, and it whistles just over the bar. And that may have been Perth's best opportunity to pull a goal back.
Yeah, Makala's been lively throughout the entire match, really. He was the bright spark in the first half and certainly could have pulled one back there. The teammate at the far post screaming that the cross should have come in, but I think by the time he got there, the goal was open. The near post was a little exposed. Taking the shot on was probably the right call, but it couldn't get it within the frame of the crossbar and post.
Yeah, Saldaris was well beaten. Wouldn't have had much time to react had that been on target.
Great footwork from Sinclair in the build-up to make it all possible as well.
Makala, of course, also in his second spell with the Azzurri, having previously been with Balcatta and Guelph in the NPL. Player who rarely misses a game. Here's Banks. Josh Calla. Now there's space here for Collins if he can keep it alive. He does. The ball in the area is an inviting one. Arnold was waiting at the back post. He did just enough to find Palmer, who was unable to complete the clearance. Of course, it's Floreat 3, Perth Soccer Club 0. We won't have to wait too long to see these two teams meet again. They meet in round 1 of the NPL WA season.
Oh, lovely stuff. Hadn't checked the fixtures yet. That's a good one to kick us off, isn't it?
Yeah, it's funny how the scheduling works. That one's a 3:30 p.m. kickoff at Dorian Gardens next Saturday afternoon. Makala's ball over. Collins. Back for Kalla, who clips into the area. DeLeo was making the run from full back, went to ground. Saldaris then fumbled. And in fact, Stephen Gregory has belatedly pointed to the penalty spot, possibly after looking over to his assistant. It was Jordan DeLeo who ghosted in from full back. No doubt there was contact. It was just whether the contact was sufficient, and Steve Gregory deemed that it was.
And he certainly took his time, didn't he? Had a bit of a think. As you mentioned, may have requested the assistance of his assistant. And in the end, determining that there was enough of a block off to give the penalty. Floreat obviously will protest. What's your call, Tommy?
Well, the DeLeo, there was no doubt there was contact, but it was just whether the referee thought he was impeding passage to the ball, ultimately.
It certainly seemed like one of those that goes through to the keeper and play on gets waved reasonably regularly. One of those where it's been given, but you certainly see them not given, don't you?
So up steps Hassani Sinclair.
How's that for sitting on the fence from the two of us, eh?
So Sinclair steps up, and it's saved by Saldaris from the spot. And it's just been that sort of night for Perth so far, and that sort of night for Floreat too. Saldaris dives low to his left, gets his body in the way, and keeps his sheet clean for the time being.
Oh, what a wonderful moment for Jason Saldaris. We've mentioned the injury and his return, long-awaited return, and the defender doesn't come and McManus can be away.
Clearance is made, and now McManus is all on his own here, isolated. He's got to do it solo if he is to try and make a dent in Perth's defence. He's gone solo, and he's nearly been able to pull that across goal, only for a good block from Collins at the last.
Oh, the drop of the shoulder and the change of gear from McManus. Unbelievable. That'll be a foul.
Jeez, he's an excitement machine, Sean McManus.
Looked like there was nowhere for him to go, and he just put on the afterburners. And credit to the Perth defenders, they stuck with him.
Well, there's not many better players to watch in this division at full flight than McManus when he's got the ball at his feet and he's running with it.
Well, it's just been the end product that is the question mark over his game in this league, for the ability that he has, for the space that he finds, and the way he gets in behind defenders. Just the goals and assists haven't been quite there in the numbers that you would expect from watching him. But with Robbie Petkov there now, as we've mentioned, another man that can put the ball in the back of the net. Maybe it's his year to start putting those numbers up.
Now, Jordan DeLeo looks as though he landed awkwardly there, and he's just grabbing his right shoulder. I think he'll be okay to continue for the moment, but when it comes to pre-season, and with the game looking like it's pretty close to its completion in terms of the result, maybe a risk to keep him out. And in fact, he will come off now, and his right arm is straight, so hopefully that's nothing too serious for DeLeo, who of course missed the majority of last season with a knee injury, and he came back and contributed with a 6th goal in that top 4 cup final last season. He comes off and he'll be replaced by Ali Galami, player formerly of Coburn and of Armidale as well. Foul goes the way of Perth. Will understandably get things moving pretty promptly. DeWitt skips past the challenge. Kalla, watch out. Here comes Boy. And it's Boy who wins the foul. Palmer, ball over the top. That one's high and into the night sky by Fester. Woodcock, Boy, flicks a header on. Ambrosio was lurking. Out for a throw it goes. So Boy crosses into the area. All on his own here is McManus, who didn't quite catch the volley as he'd like. And in fact, it took a deflection on its way through. Corner taken short. Woodcock. Arnold. Boy still there. Tries to dance past DeWitt. And in the end, McCullough comes over to help out a teammate. So around about quarter of an hour left here at Frank Drago Reserve. Floreat in a commanding position, a 3-0 lead. 2 goals for Robert Petkov, 1 goal for Phil Arnold. Hazani Sinclair missing Perth's best chance to pull a goal back when Jason Saldaris saved his penalty from the spot. And now we're going to see a return to the NPL for Bailey Montgomery, who most recently played at NPL level for ECU Joondalup. First, though, it'll be Ben Steele who comes on. Winner of the Stan Lazaridis medal for player of the match in the State Cup final last season. He comes on for Chris Saldaris at right back, and the other change will see Nick Ambrosio come off and Bailey Montgomery come on.
Number 15, Chris Saldaris, and number 10, Nicholas Ambrosio.
Arnold nearly got the poking on goal. There's an almighty scramble in the 6-yard box, and what a way to introduce yourself to the colours of Floreat Athena. It's Bailey Montgomery, who's only been on the pitch for a matter of seconds. And Florida in full flow now. They've got a 4-goal lead here at Frank Drago Reserve.
Number 16, Bailey Montgomery.
Well, you said it, Tommy. He'd been on the pitch for all of 2 seconds, I reckon, before he found that ball. It just fell to him. You can't ask for a better gift, can you? What an introduction.
Welcome back to the NPL, Bailey Montgomery. Player who broke into the ECU first team in 2015 and 16, subsequently had trials in England with Aston Villa and West Brom before returning to the Glory Academy. Played at Joondalup City last season in State League Division 2, scoring twice in 13 games. And he scored the 4th in a NPL Night Series final for his new club here.
Yeah, well, just the perfect cherry on top, isn't it? Of the Night Series title cake for Floreat Athena tonight, being able to bring on a substitute. And you mentioned it when Saldaris made that save. It's just been one of those nights where everything's gone their way, hasn't it? And it really can't go much more your way than coming on as a substitute, really doing nothing whatsoever and just having the ball fall to you 2 yards out from goal with an empty net.
Montgomery trying to make a nuisance of himself.
I would say you still have to finish it, but I think I could have finished that one.
Well, it was a real scramble from close range. The ball in was not dealt with. Arnold, I think, initially stabbed it towards goal. It then scuffed off a couple of defenders and found its way to Montgomery, who, as you say, Sean, couldn't miss from there, really. just what you want to get your season up and running. Here's Boyd trying to add more pain to Perth's game tonight. Play will be pulled back here by Steve Gregory. Cross into the area here. Banks will try and get the shot on goal, and Saldaris had to be alert, and he had to get a strong palm to it to tip it wide of the post.
Now another great save from Saldaris. He hasn't had too much to do tonight, but when he's been called upon, as you would expect from the Floreat Athena stalwart between the sticks, he's come up big. Another big right hand there to deny Perth what would have been their opening goal of the night.
Corner comes in here. Attacking that one was Fester. It took a deflection on its way through, and then it was eventually scrambled away by the Athena defence. And this one will mean a little bit more to Floreat Athena tonight, who sadly lost their longest serving president, Bill Thomas, last month. A man who was a giant of Floreat Athena throughout their, well, has been throughout their 70-year history, with the president role over for 14 years, over 3 decades. That's a magnificent performance to pay tribute to Bill tonight.
Oh.
Here's McCullough, who spins away from Arnold. Lays it in to the feet of Calla, the strike at goal from distance. In fact, that was Calla who got the eventual shot away. McManus is steaming after this one again, and he'll get there as well, you know. He keeps it in, he skips away from DeWitt, he pulls in board, Petkov can't quite get there, Teller spins away, and then Cooley pokes away, and arriving late on the scene was Montgomery, who'll take a yellow ticket for that.
Yeah, fair enough. But what a pass and what a run from Sean McManus. If anyone was going to get there on the pitch, it was only going to be the Floreat at number 8 with the pace to keep that in, and just couldn't quite find Petkov with the pass. But those two will be dangerous all season.
So coming into tonight, Perth and Floreat had met in 7 pre-season finals. Floreat had only won one of them back in 1977 when they defeated the Azzurri by 3-2, as they were known back then. Since then, Perth have won 6 in a row. One of them was on penalties in 2008. And it'll be a 45-year drought, which is broken in terms of pre-season finals against Perth. Ball over the top there was looking for Zivkovic. Just back onto that point as well. Both of these teams are, of course, the leading night series finals holders. Perth with over 20 in their history. And Floreat look as though they're about to make it number 9 tonight, as the shirt of Woodcock was pulled back. Stephen Gregory shows another yellow card.
Yeah, not much arguing that one. Almost took his shirt off.
Arnold's ball. Header away from Banks, who was tracking back. And the air has been well and truly sucked out of this one now. Bit of a hush around the crowd. Most of whom no doubt impressed with what they've seen from Athena tonight. That was a strong challenge from Woodcock there on McCalla. And he'll be the latest one to go into the referee's notebook. A few of them being handed out late on in the game as perhaps players get a little bit more fatigued. Challengers are a little bit more lazy and very much in the dying embers of this one.
Yeah, a bit of an unnecessary one, that one from Riley Woodcock. I know you want to keep the competitiveness up right through to the end of the game, but at 4-0, he will be coming off now anyway.
And Floreat will use their 4-0 lead to inject a couple more youngsters into this game and give them some minutes. Riley Woodcock, who just picked up the yellow card, will come off. Gets a warm reception from Nick Ambrosio, who comes to meet him, and coming on in his place is Alex Christodoulakis, who joins from Perth Glory's under-20 squad. Meanwhile, there'll be another changeover on the far side, and it'll be Sean McManus who comes off. And there'll be minutes for Philip Minich as well, whilst Perth also use this opportunity to make a change as Ethan Banks makes way, and Will Gordon. We'll see the later stages of this one.
Stoppage time in any minute. Just about
Gordon, first involvement of the game. The cross comes in. Arnold partially clears that one away. Gordon can still step in. Collins will put the cross into the area. Sinclair will leap at it. And he didn't quite get the desired contact once again in the air, and Saldaris is able to gather comfortably.
And as Saldaris launches the ball up and Josh Nixon prepares to raise the board to let us know how much added time we've got. It's just a matter of time now until Floreat lift the first piece of silverware up for grabs for the season.
Touch over 3 minutes left. Floreat looking to add another goal possibly here. It comes into the area. Arnold arrives, parried out by Radonjic. It's still here for Floreat potentially. Minich tries to carve out an opportunity. Palmer now. Christodoulakis driving towards the byline, pulling back, and Fester is stooping low and putting behind for a corner as we enter the final 3 minutes of this one here.
These Floreat substitutions really trying to put their best foot forward to try and claim a starting position in this team. Christodoulakis involved heavily early. Bailey Montgomery scoring with his first touch. The signs are good for Athena, but the signs were good for Athena well into last season as well.
And it comes from Arnold. It'll run all the way through for Palmer.
Arnold Palmer. Been waiting all night.
It was bound to happen at some point. Boy retreats back for Gallen. Takes his time to assess the options. Minich, Steele, a couple of the youngsters looking to link up over on that far side. Minich will give pursuit. It was good pressure in the end because the ball eventually landed at the feet of Petkov, who digs out the cross and wins another set piece. So I'll give you a minute or so to think about what you've really liked about Floreat's performance tonight, Sean. We'll focus on the positives. It's been an amazing performance from them tonight, and we'll come to you after this set piece before you go down to complete your post-match duties. Arnold goes over. The corner's taken short. Boy looks as though he's going to try and just carve out a passage in the corner, Wool.
I think Floreat are quite happy to just let the ink run out of this one. But you asked what's been the most impressive. I think the team performance has been a very cohesive effort. Everyone seems to know their roles, their responsibilities, and Robert Petkov obviously has made a huge impact to this team. But from the 2-goal lead, they never looked like it. I mentioned at the time it will probably kill this game as a contest because Floreat have the know-how, the ability, the experience to see off games, and it's exactly what they've done. Couldn't have been a better game. Couldn't have been a better night for Athena really tonight. Superb performance.
Yellow card's been given out like parking tickets now. As Tellez is the latest player to pick one up. Boy will stand over it. Floreat just committing 3 players into the penalty area. And it goes low. It's cleared away by Sinclair, who was back there defending. Palmer spins around the corner. And now Collins will launch up fielders. 3 minutes goes up to complete this game.
And with the raising of the tablet for those final 3 minutes, Tommy, I will head down to do my duties and leave you after what's been a very pleasurable evening alongside you in the booth once again.
Look forward to catching up again during the season, Sean. Petkov. Christodolakis' cross is going to go over Luke Radonich's bar. Radonich will call for a fresh football, but the urgency is somewhat needless given the state of the game. Zivkovic with the handball. And now we well and truly are just playing out time now. Christodolakis spins away from DeWitt. Cross into the area is a dangerous looking one. Petkov was sniffing out the chance of a hat-trick perhaps. He won't get it just yet as Kaller emerges with the ball. Finds McCarla wide right. The switch is on here for Will Gordon. If they could get it out there, and in the end McCarla in his desire to get the ball shoves Christodolakis over. And I think he's going to be the latest one to get a yellow card now for a little bit of gamesmanship. Which in essence is quite unnecessary given the state of the game. Needless to say though, Floreat are very much enjoying themselves here this evening. Collins comes forward, the pass through was looking for Sinclair. But once again, it just evades the striker, as it seems to have done all night. Arnold hits the deck under the challenge of Galami. Floreat get prompt revenge on last season's top 4 cup final tonight with an emphatic performance here at Frank Drago Reserve. They were the better team from start to finish really, and they took the lead as early as the 12th minute when Robert Petkov got on the end of a lovely flowing move down the left-hand side, which involved Sean McManus and Riley Woodcock, who put in the perfect cross for the number 9 to head in the opening goal of the evening. Phil Arnold then doubled the advantage with a crisp strike from the edge of the area just before the half-hour mark, and from then on Floreat didn't look back really. They were in control for the most part. They extended their lead when Petkov rattled in a brilliant effort from distance, which beat Radnic all hands up and nestled into the back of the net. But it wasn't the end of the scoring, as Bailey Montgomery came off the bench and made an instant impact, scoring within seconds of entering the field after a bit of a goalmouth scramble, which was created by an initial Phil Arnold effort. Hassani Sinclair had the best effort to pull one back for Perth from the penalty spot, but his kick was saved by Jason Saldaris, while Shubham Makala had a couple of chances, one of which flew over the bar. A brilliant night for Floreat, who look as consistent as ever at the start of season 2022. They've won the NPL Night Series final after a magnificent performance here and a bit of a statement win, and one which many teams around them will be looking at moving forward. We'll cross down to Sean Fry, who will be leading us through the trophy presentations. But thanks for joining us tonight. We hope you're staying safe and well at home. Floreat Athena 4, Perth 0 at full time here at Frank Drago Reserve. Good night.
Floreat Athena. I'll now ask you to put your hands together to assist me in the presentation, Sharif Undra. Before we get to the runners-up and winners' medals and the presentation of the trophy, I'll get Sharif to assist me in the awarding of the player of the match tonight. He's a new man in the blue and white, number 9, Robert Petkov. I would now like to invite tonight's match officials forward to collect their medals. Starting with the on-field referee tonight, Stephen Gregory, assistant referee Julian Serra, assistant referee Lawson Rimmer, and tonight's fourth official Josh Nixon. Please put your hands together for tonight's officials. I would now like to invite tonight's runners-up forward to collect their medals. Perth Soccer Club, starting with number 1, Luke Radnic. Number 3, Jordan DeLeo. Number 4, Julian Sellers. Number 5, Will Gordon. Number 6, Manuel Dowitt. Number 7, Ethan Banks. Number 8, Ali Gulami. Number 9, Hassani Sinclair. Number 10, Shubham Makala. Number 11, Daniel Zivkovic. Number 12, Sam Cook. Number 13, George Fessa. Number 14, Luke Collins. Number 17, Lark Matian. Number 18, Josh Calla. Number 19, Robert Galvin. Number 20, Paul Zimmerino. And number 23, Sam Riley. I'd also like to ask the Perth coaching staff to come forward and collect their medals. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for tonight's runners-up, Perth Soccer Club. And now for our winners, please join me in welcoming forward number 35, Jason Saldaris. Number 22, Riley Woodcock. Number 4, Ben Steele. Number 5, Ethan Nom. Number 6, Jesse Fuller. Number 8, Sean McManus. Number 9, Robert Petkov. Number 10, Nicholas Ambrosio. Number 11, Dennis Gallen. Number 14, Louis Boyd. Number 15, Chris Salvaris. Number 16, Paddy Montgomery. Number 17, Alex Christodouakis. Number 18, Phil Arnold. Number 20, Andrew Palmer. Number 21, Philip Niddich. Number 41, Tom Sheikh. And at number 19, Mohammed Al-Zaidi. So I also ask the Floreat Athena coaching staff to come forward and collect their medals. Floreat coaches. I'll get the head coach and captain to come forward now to collect the trophy. Ladies and gentlemen, your 2022 NPL Night Series champions, Floreat Athena! It is just the start of a long season. We want to see you back, so take care, get home, and we'll see you back for the season proper.